It pierced through his body as if it were tofu, and, at the same time, it pierced Panhong's life pattern. Panhong plummeted from the sky. Little Yuaner stood on the spot, clapping incessantly. It hit. It hit. I want to learn archery too. Lu Zhou shook his head in dissatisfaction. If it were the unnamed sword, you could have slain a 5-leaf master. This used up 1/3 of your divine power. If you used the sword, combined with the divine court realm's advantage, you could have slain a 6-leaf expert. But now, you can only shoot down a 5-leaf Panhong. Without a divine weapon, and with a ranged attack, its power was greatly weakened. This arrow that pierced the sea and sky, taking Panhong's life, was no different from directly killing him. Panhong crashed down, smashing through the roof tiles, his entire body splayed on the ground. His eyes filled with terror as he looked at Lu Zhou. At the same time, Bin had dealt with the surrounding cultivators. The entire manor returned to tranquility. Only then did Lu Zhou stroke his beard and look at Panhong on the ground. This old man gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. Panhong's face was extremely unsightly. He suppressed the intense pain coming from his Dantian sea of qi and gritted his teeth. You, who the hell are you? Lu Zhou ignored him and said in a low voice, Now, your cultivation is crippled. Panhong lay flat on the ground, suffering. He could feel that the primal qi within his Dantian sea of qi had been completely shattered by that demonic arrow. Anguish and fear filled him. After uttering a word, he violently spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. He lay on the ground, panting for a while, gradually regaining his composure. Lu Zhou raised his hand, and a wisp of primal qi flew out. Whiz! It struck the center of Panhong's consciousness. The pain on his body immediately vanished. Panhong wiped the cold sweat from his face. His previous domineering demeanor had completely disappeared. Not a trace of it remained. After his cultivation was crippled, he took a stroll in the primal qi and slowly descended to the ground. Around them, only the commoners and low-level cultivators working in the regional office were left. Lu Zhou looked at Bin. This mount is truly interesting. It seems to know which targets to engage to earn merit points. Lu Zhou glanced at the system interface. Unfortunately, the merit points had only increased by 200. Defeating and crippling a primal god realm target yielded an extremely low and negligible harvest. Panhong was also lying on the ground, motionless, having completely lost his combat ability. He stood up, rubbed his eyes, and saw Lu Zhou. He immediately threatened the people to retreat. Lu Zhou stroked his beard, shook his head, and asked, Have you done many such evil deeds? Panhong wiped the sweat from his face and stammered, Old, sir, we just wanted to survive and had to do it. Lu Zhou didn't care about this. Even if it had nothing to do with him, he asked, Tell me a bit about the situation in Liang province. Little Yuaner was very perceptive. She ran into the room and placed a chair behind Lu Zhou. Lu Zhou sat down, looking at Panhong as if interrogating a prisoner. The pain was gone, but recalling what had just happened was still terrifying. He swallowed hard. Tell me about the current situation in Liang province. Lu Zhou stroked his beard, awaiting the answer. Panhong thought for a moment and replied, Extremely chaotic. Before you two arrived, the Nether sect fought a battle with the defenders. Countless casualties. What about the other races? Lu Zhou had received intelligence that wasn't like this. Mention of the other races made Panhong raise an eyebrow. The Rolyan and Lulan people from the west have appeared in Liang province for a long time, but we don't know their current whereabouts. But it was also very normal for Panhong not to know. If the other races revealed their whereabouts, it wouldn't be his turn to deal with them. The Emperor of Great Yin had already sent troops to suppress the other races. Only people from these two tribes. Lu Zhou continued to ask. The 5 western states and 7 northern states have always been very compliant with the rules. Only the Rolyan and Lulan. I haven't heard of any other foreign tribes appearing here. Panhong answered honestly. Lu Zhou stroked his beard and nodded. He began to search through the memories of the heavenly writing. Since the reign of Emperor Yongshou, the western regions and the northern lands, Great Yin had always held the supreme position in the world. Countless vassal states of the western region's tribes and the northern lands began to rebuild. They formed the 5 western states and 7 northern states. These 12 states had always submitted to Great Yin, paying tribute and maintaining relations every year. However, these 12 states were not peaceful, often taking the opportunity to sneak in and invade Great Yin's frontiers. The 4 princes guarded the borders year-round, constantly deterring them. It was considered relatively peaceful. Where are the 4 princes now? Lu Zhou asked. Panhong looked at the fearsome old man before him, and, after a moment, replied, I only heard that their highnesses led 300,000 troops and 5,000 cultivators, dividing the 10 commanderies of Liang province into defensive regions. I don't know which city he is in right now. Speaking of which, Panhong continued. Among the 10 cities of Liang province, 5 have defensive formations. The other 5 do not. His Highness would surely not put himself in danger. This was considered an honest statement. Lu Zhou slowly stood up. Investigate this matter for this old man. If you do well, this old man will forgive you. Panhong was overjoyed to hear this and immediately cowed out. Thank you, old sir, for your grace. Panhong stayed at the manor that night, sleeping in the room next to Lu Zhou's. He didn't sleep well all night. This person had crippled his cultivation and constantly frightened him. Perhaps the men behind him would stab him with a knife. What reason was there not to kill him? Who cared about morality? After his cultivation was crippled, Panhong still wanted to live. It was because he had a way to restore his cultivation. It was difficult, but there was hope. As the top ranker on the blacklist, he had enough connections to help him heal his Dantian Sea of Qi. But before that, he had to think about how to protect himself. Therefore, the safest place was next to this old man. Early the next morning, Panhong immediately sent men to the 10 cities of Liang province to investigate the news. In the afternoon, Panhong came to pay his respects to Lu Zhou. Old sir, I have ordered an investigation. It is very likely that their highnesses are in the northern desert of Liang province. Lu Zhou didn't speak, and Panhong didn't dare to leave. After a long while, he only heard the sound of primal Qi transmission in the room. Is there any movement from the Nether sect? I heard that the Nether sect's leader, Yu Hai, and the 4 great protectors have also come to Liang province city. Speaking of which, Panhong continued. Currently, the Nether sect is causing chaos. Yu Hai is the grand disciple of the evil Sky Pavilion, with profound cultivation. It's terrifying to have him make a move himself. Even if the 4 princes have a large army, they might not be his match. Yes, keep investigating. Another day passed. The next day, Panhong stood at the door to report. Old master, a sudden change has occurred in Liang province city. The Nether sect and the 4 princes are fighting, both sides suffering heavy casualties. The 5 commanderies without defensive formations were taken over by the Nether sect overnight. I'm afraid it won't be long before they attack the city. Continue to investigate. Panhong stooped and left. Until the 4th day, before the sky was bright, Panhong hurried to Lu Zhou's door and said anxiously, Old sir, please leave the city quickly. The battle in Liang province city has been decided. The Nether sect has broken through the city gates. Just as he finished speaking, the sound of horse hooves echoed throughout Liang province city. At the same time, in the sky, groups of cultivators appeared, moving like clouds. The smoke of war rose. The Liang province army was constantly defeated. On the streets, occasionally, 10-leaf Dharma bodies would appear. Although it was far from 100 tribulations inside Dharma body of the divine capital, for the level of Liang province, 10-leaf Dharma bodies were already top experts. The Nether sect was never short of cultivators of this level. The attack of the Nether sect caused the entire army to either become prisoners of war or be killed. Panhong stood outside the door like an ant on a hot pan. A whirlwind of 10 cultivators suddenly appeared in the sky above his manor. The Nether sect's Rose King, by order of the 2 dragon riders, those who submit will live. Those who resist will die. All cultivators, come out. The Nether sect's mode of action was to suppress with overwhelming force, deterring resistance. Panhong's heart pounded. He couldn't believe the Nether sect had come so fast. He had now lost all his cultivation. Who had the right to oppose them? Panhong was not only worried, but also looked towards the old man's room. The Rose King looked at Panhong and asked, You are injured? Yes. Panhong wanted to point to Lu Zhou's room, but didn't dare. Take him away. 2 cultivators descended and grabbed Panhong. The door creaked open. Lu Zhou walked out with his hands clasped behind his back. He looked up at the 2 dragon riders. The Rose King hovered in the air. He could feel the aura of the old man in front of him and shook his head. Regardless of who it was, as long as they opposed the Nether sect, they would not be spared. At this time, little Yuaner also ran out, pointing at the Rose King's face. How dare you speak to my master like that? The Rose King was slightly surprised. According to the Nether sect's doctrine, most cultivators had 10 schools of thought. Most of the Divine Court realm cultivators had a background. That's why the Nether sect, when dealing with orthodox sects, major sects, and other schools, would often capture many masters to intimidate high-level cultivators. Since then, cultivators hadn't dared to act rashly. Unexpectedly, within the territory of Great Yin, they only needed to deal with the cultivators of Great Yin. Like now, in a rebellion, encountering cultivators, to prevent unintended consequences, they would arrest them first, then release them. Those who had problems would not be spared. This was the cruel strategy of the city. Siwia had decided on this strategy for the Nether sect because he didn't want anyone else playing tricks. The Rose King could feel the aura of the girl who had just appeared and immediately raised an eyebrow. A primal god realm cultivator? There's a fake here. We are the 2 dragon riders of the primal god realm in Liang province city. I don't know why you 2 appeared in Liang province city, but in the meantime, please cooperate and come with us for a trip. The Rose King had always respected false power. Regarding the Nether sect, Luzhou only knew of the 4 great protectors. So, this kind of subordinate character, of course, he was not impressed. The Rose King was not angry. He just asked, "Old sir, do you not know?" Little Yuaner was just about to speak, but was held back by Luzhou. "It's easy to mess up this head." Luzhou replied, "I've heard of it." The Rose King spoke. "Our master is the great disciple of the devil. He is also one of the 8-leaf experts, rarely seen in the cultivation world." Luzhou currently wanted to meet Si Wuya or Yu Zhenghai. Before meeting them, of course, he couldn't reveal his purpose. Thinking for a moment, Luzhou said, "This old man will go with you." Little Yuaner did not understand her master's thoughts. She didn't know why he was doing this. But thinking about it, she didn't care. Whatever her master did had his reasons. So, she didn't pester him, obediently following behind Luzhou. Thanks for coordinating. Panhong also followed. 3 people with the Rose King left the manor. Panhong, being seriously injured, was taken away by ordinary Nether sect members. That afternoon, the Nether sect successfully occupied Liang Province City. Luzhou, Little Yuaner, and Panhong were taken to where the Nether sect was stationed in Liang Province City. On the way, the Rose King always led. Upon reaching the garrison, Luzhou saw more than 50 Primal God Realm cultivators who had been captured. In a brief comparison, he saw that Luzhou and Little Yuaner had the highest cultivation among the people. It was no wonder the Rose King treated them like that. As for Panhong, his cultivation was gone, and he was under the care of ordinary Nether sect members. "Please rest assured, you'll be detained for a few days. Wait until we've taken down the 10 cities of Liangzhou. Then I'll release you too," the Rose King said to Luzhou and Little Yuaner before leaving. Luzhou asked, "The Nether sect can take down the city?" The Rose King said disdainfully, "What is there that we dare not do? Our sect has the 7 great disciples of the devil. Sooner or later, this world will belong to us." This old man clearly remembers that the city had a defensive formation. How could you succeed? The Rose King was startled. If it were normal, a stranger who dared to question him like that would have been beaten. But these 2 people had the highest cultivation. One was the head of a small sect, and the other, standing next to the old man, was a Primal God Realm cultivator. The sect was at a critical time. It was better to use reassurance when dealing with this type of expert. The Rose King laughed and said, "I believe in the power of the sect leader and the 7 disciples." When he finished, he turned and left, and the cultivators around him raised their thumbs again, saying to Luzhou, "Submissive, submissive. Old master, you dare to use a weapon like that to talk to the Nether sect's 2 dragon riders. Fellow cultivators, we're just outsiders. Why do you ask so much? Watch out for trouble. It makes sense. Yes, we can eat and drink in this place. They fight. We don't care. We don't care who runs the world. Just give us enough to eat." It seemed that most cultivators had expressed that the matter had nothing to do with them. The question was, in this kind of situation, who had the courage to stand up to the Nether sect? Luzhou didn't pay attention to these low-level cultivators. His goal was to get Si Wuya and Yu Zhenghai to return. Other things didn't need to be concerned about. Panhong was not far away. He said with a fawning face, "Old sir, it's our story." The old man always kept his promise. "Thank you, old sir." Panhong hunched over. Luzhou knew Panhong was by his side because he wanted someone to protect him. At present, Liang Province City was at risk on all sides. No one was sure if the next dead person would be them or not. The sky grew dark. A wave of sound waves swept across the entire garrison. Other races are invading. All Nether sect cultivators from crime to crime. "Come on, follow me." The Rose King, with his body, glided across the air. The 4-leaf Dharma body crashed into everyone's eyes. Nether sect cultivators immediately flew up, following the Rose King, flying to the west wall of Liang Province City. Other races invading. Panhong's face quietly turned. Little Yuaner looked up. A lot of cultivators were flying in the air. Luzhou felt a little tense in his heart. Even though she was a Primal God Realm cultivator and one of the 9 disciples of the Evil Sky Pavilion, she had never seen a war like this. She panicked and grabbed Luzhou's arm. "Master, don't be afraid." On the outside, he was very calm, but in his heart, he silently sighed. He knew that bringing Little Yuaner along, she was still an inexperienced child. The people around him shouted for an hour. Hand to the sky. Nearly 1,000 cultivators were flying there. Now the west wall was full of practitioners. Wars like this. Some people sighed, and some people were amazed. There were always people in this world who liked to watch. In Liang Province City, many Nether sect members were running across the road, making the ground constantly vibrate, shaking people's hearts. "Master! Master!" On the wall, countless Dharma bodies began to appear. A 7-leaf Dharma body expert, a 6-leaf Primal God Realm cultivator. The 7-masted Dharma body is higher than the city. No matter how great the walls are, they also do not cover the light created by the Dharma body. There are other races. People looked up at the sky. Opposite the Dharma body, there was a black Dharma body that looked like a wolf, constantly attacking around the Dharma body. People in need of national interests. There are people in need. Of course, there will also be a long time. Panhong looked around and lowered his voice. Old master, the Nether sect no longer cares about us. This is a good opportunity to leave. Lu Zhou looked at him and said nothing. Panhong obviously wanted to run away, but with his current situation, if he walked out, he would be killed. Someone raised their voice. A 7-leaf Dharma body. It must be one of the 4 great protectors of the Nether sect. It could be Hua Wudao or Yang Yin. To stand here and see, we haven't done anything. Some people flew to the top of a building, while others flew to the treetops to observe. The other races suddenly appeared. That's a lot of practitioners. The Nether sect and the garrison didn't have time to react. More than 1,000 practitioners stood on the wall, preventing the enemy from entering, and started a small-scale battle on the wall. They were constantly attacking the other races, intending to invade from the air. The soldiers under the city were busy fortifying the city walls and gates, and, at the same time, providing support, supplies, and therapy for practitioners. After practitioners decided to fight a battle, it was the turn of ordinary people. War broke out between countries. Except in cases of unwillingness, most of the people had to fight forever. This was the essence of Great Yin. At the same time, it was also the basic mode of combat in cultivation. Watching practitioners fly through the sky, sometimes people fell down. Panhong not only applauded. Old master, I have a question about the Nether sect. I don't know whether to say it or not. Feel free to ask. Lu Zhou just stroked his beard, watching the war on the wall. The military defense of Liang Province City has been defeated by the Nether sect before. Now the people who fight the other races are all Nether sect members. It should have been expected. This has to be in Si Wuya's calculations. Why do they seem panicked and powerless? Is such a mindset deliberately feigned? Is the old man from the Evil Sky Pavilion? Why do you say that? Lu Zhou was curious about the raid. There are a lot of archers. Master Lu Zhou is even more excellent. His archery skills used a single arrow to kill a high-class ferocious beast during the Heavenly Sword sect invasion of the Golden Court Mountain. Panhong said respectfully. Each time he remembered Lu Zhou's visit, his heart was afraid. All over this world, there were countless people with profound cultivation techniques. Even if it was not worth mentioning, Lu Zhou had nothing to say. Maybe kidding, it's not worth that much. The aura was not normally large, but he dared to show himself. Panhong just said, Old sir, why don't you stand up and kill the other races? Life appraisal is Gal player 5 or not. Lu Zhou can withstand an arrow. If the old man is fully prepared and arrests the king of the enemy, it would transform the whole war. Whether Panhong, for the pursuit of benefits, should do some bad things. But he doesn't want to see other races either, the tribe setting foot in Great Yin. Lu Zhou observed the war on the wall, not answering him. If he did that, he would have to reveal himself. Until then, they wanted to capture Yuzhenghai or Si Wuya. Lu Zhou decided not to rush into action. The power of the Nether sect was enough to deal with these other races. Panhong dared not say anything else. Little Yuaner hugged Lu Zhou's arm. Lu Zhou's feeling of stress slowly disappeared. She was curious again. Master, I want to go. Lu Zhou also had this thought and said, let's go. The two people quickly walked towards the wall. Panhong jumped up and looked around. The place was currently empty. He immediately shouted, Wait for me. In front of him, he could only follow the old man, hoping to be safe. Not long after, the 3 people had come under the wall. Only by looking closely did one know how high the wall of humanity was. Looking up, you couldn't see the top. If it wasn't for the masters who manifested their Dharma bodies flying in the air, the people standing in the city would have no way to see the war. Old man, and me too, Panhong shouted. Lu Zhou waved his hand, and the 3 people went up the wall. Break! Break! The buzzing sound of fighting echoed by the ear. The 3 people just stood on the wall, stunned by the sight in front of them. A 4-leaf, a 5-leaf, and a 7-leaf Dharma body were fighting a war with the other races on an abandoned piece of land outside the city. The great expert sitting in charge was Yang Yin. His Dharma body flew Tenjong, and the Rolian people flew back out, mouths spraying blood. However, there were still a lot of Rolian and Lulan people below, waiting. The Lulan people stood in the distance, relentlessly unleashing witchcraft. Each purple energy arrow combined smoothly with the Rolian people, making the fighting situation more chaotic. No one paid attention to Lu Zhou and the others. The 3 people stood in a corner of the wall. There was no one around, silently observing the battle in front of them. Panhong swallowed a sip of saliva and said, Even Yang Yin, one of the 4 great protectors of the Nether sect, is as bad as that. How strong are the rest of the protectors? You also know about the Nether sect? Lu Zhou looked towards Panhong. Panhong seemed to have forgotten he once ate a meal from the old man in front of him. Smiling, he said, "The Nether sect master, Yu Jinghai, is the great disciple of the devil. Everybody knows about this." Lu Zhou noticed a bunch of Rolian people being thrown out. They got up again and rushed to besiege Yang Yan. The Rolian people had fast bodies, did not practice according to the methods of the Great Yin, and believed in and worshipped wild wolves. They didn't act alone. Their Dharma bodies were also wolves, with the ability to self-heal and take very strong blows. Some people said that barbarians were still barbarians. Great Yin could threaten 12 vassal countries, not for no reason. Lu Zhou stroked his beard and asked, "You seem to have a lot of faith in Yang Yan? Or rather, I have faith in Emperor Yongshou. It is better not to talk about Emperor Yongshou. You are the leader of the blacklist, and you have words you dare not say, old sir." Ranked on the blacklist is not based on cultivation, Panhong reluctantly said. The head of the blacklist only has 5-leaf cultivation. There are also poor practitioners on the blacklist. Right now, a bunch of Rolian people are flying up. On the ground, there is a special Dharma body. "Master, what is it?" Little Yuaner pointed to a wolf-shaped Dharma body, extremely large, standing on the ground. "Wolf King Dharma body. You can guess from the shape. It must be the Wolf King," the appalled Panhong said. At this time, the Wolf King Dharma body flew into the air, its feet pedaling a golden lotus with 6 leaves, spinning and blooming. Little Yuaner was curious and asked, "Why are their Dharma bodies not human figures?" "It's weird. Their Dharma bodies also have golden lotuses." Lu Zhou slowly explained, "The path of cultivation must rely on the Dharma and the words left by the ancestors. In the insights, the spiritual ideas of the sects are hidden, the dominant thought, the spirit of will. For example, if a cultivation master wants to manifest a sword, it is a sword. His right hand lifted, and on Lu Zhou's hand condensed the primal chi. If it is a sword, it is a sword. The primal chi immediately turned into a sword, and then it constantly morphed into other types. Lu Zhou clasped his hands, and the primal chi disappeared. The Dharma body is also like this. It's just that the Dharma body has been shaped since the beginning of cultivation. It's very difficult to change in post-production. The shape of the Dharma body. In the age of the 3 sects, they liked enlightenment. People entered the golden age of cultivation. It's been 3,000 years since then. The 3 great sects formed 3 types of Dharma bodies. People of other races practice the laws of Great Yin, affected by the thought of Great Yin, and will manifest human Dharma bodies. On the contrary, other races not affected will worship a different kind of race. For example, the Rolian worship the Wolf King, so they manifest wolf Dharma bodies. "Oh," Little Yuaner nodded. "Ding, Little Yuaner has gained 200 merit points." Panhong also clasped his hands to speak. The boy continued to ask the master. "There are actually thousands of other races." Lu Zhou doesn't understand. "I didn't ask much about this, so I couldn't answer clearly." But he didn't expect Panhong, standing next to him, to laugh. In the dictionary, it is recorded that there are more than 1,000 different kinds of people. Only in Liang province city of Great Yin, there are different kinds of ethnic languages. It is said that both the West and the North, from the past to the present, war is about constantly integrating and appropriating people. People have created the world as it is today. Is there any other race as beneficial as Great Yin? Panhong asked. Little Yuaner pointed to the Wolf King in the air. Their Dharma bodies have golden lotuses. Did they learn to steal the law? This was an amazing question. Panhong had never thought about this problem. In the interim, he didn't know how to answer. The teacher at SAO. There are a lot of problems with children. Lu Zhou's face was calm. Fortunately, this old face was thick enough. No one could see what he was thinking. It was also bizarre to talk about. With the rich memories of the heavenly writing, he couldn't find a reasonable explanation for this. If the cultivation method of the 3 sects, like the Tao, using thought to drive the spirit of will, the will to decide the body, then the other races didn't understand this idea. Why did golden lotuses still appear under their Dharma bodies? Someone come to explain. Lu Zhou, roughly speaking, are essentially the same. People and things need to eat. Little Yuaner scratched her head. Of course, she didn't understand. The Wolf King Dharma body, now a 6-leaf, dived towards Yang Yan's Dharma body. Boom! Interfering chi filled the sky. The wind was destroying everywhere. The people standing nearby were swept up by the wind. The Dharma protectors are here to help you. The Rose King controlled his 4-leaf Dharma body and charged forward. The situation immediately turned into 2 against 1. The higher the advantage, the more aggressive the attack. There were hundreds of Lulan people behind him, not stopping their witchcraft, which was obnoxious. Little Yuaner, having just seen witchcraft, was upset and stomped her foot. "I can't go down and kill them." Lu Zhou said, "Low-level witchcraft tricks only. Don't worry. Without great sorcerers like Ba Ma and M.O. Li, This kind of low-level magic can't change the battle. No matter what, this place is outside the capital city. There is no defensive formation. Magic doesn't put much pressure. Rumble. The Wolf King constantly hit out, changing from 1 to 3. 2 strikes towards Yang Yin, 1 leap towards the Rose King. Yang Yin with his Dharma body continuously retreated. The Rose King was pushed back to the wall. It was just that the 4-leaf Dharma body was a little too strong and was knocked back out. In the process of flying backward, he hurriedly recovered his Dharma body. Master, how come he has such a strong advantage? Little Yuaner was amazed, her intention to plunge extinguished in that moment. She immediately grabbed her master's arm. The Wolf King has very strong force. The attack force is also deployed, while Yang Yin must have consumed too much energy. If it's a fair fight, Yang Yin will not lose, Lu Zhou said. The main problem is nothing is fair in this world. On the wall, an archer shot out, firing towards the other races. Yu Zhenghai was not floating in front of the wall. The wall was too big. He couldn't even see who was who, let alone recognize Lu Zhou among the people. Amidst the people, Yang Yin said, "Save the other race's formation. Report to Mr. 7th. The situation of the Nether sect became dangerous. 2 enemy tanks were in front of their eyes. There were walls and defensive battles, but the longer it dragged on, the more the sect would suffer. What tricks is Si Wuya playing?" The practitioners stood at the top of the observation tree. The Wolf King, one uttered a loud curse. The other races are too despicable. It's obnoxious. Even if it is a ghost, at least I know how to fight. That's why the 4 princes dare to connect with him. Why not open the defensive formation? Can't be opened. The Nether sect could gently occupy Liang Province City because the defensive formation was under control. The 4 princes are the leaders, the generals. If they run here, it's over. The crowd was full of discussion, like the highest among them. They just violated the law and basically couldn't help. A lot of it was just waiting for the war to end, run down to the battlefield, and kill some stragglers. Yang Yin frowned and looked at the Rolian Wolf King. The Rose King flew backward, hitting the wall with a bang. The Rose King fell to the ground, spitting out a sip of fresh blood. The Nether sect's casualties were not light, but the enemy was no better. Both sides suffered. Yang Yin projected his voice. Rolian people, you have all suffered at the hands of Great Yin. It's hard now to be a traitor. His voice thundered like thunder, echoing through the walls. The Rolian Wolf King also did not stand in the distance, crossed his hands contemptuously, and said, "Words of Great Yin. You guys, it's a time of change. You really think Great Yin is unbearable? If the Nether sect is no longer able to fight the enemy, it's been a long time since I've been fighting Great Yin. How can we give the other races a chance? The 4 princes have met us. You just need to beat the Nether sect, and he will give us 3 cities of the 10 cities in Liang Province. The answer to the question is that you're Nether sect. Do you give more? There are no permanent enemies in this world. There are only permanent benefits." The Wolf King's words clearly meant if Yu Zhenghai agreed to give the other races 4 cities, or even more, the other races would not hesitate to turn around and deal with Lu Bing. Lu Zhou was a little surprised. Lu Bing kept the border for years. How could he make such a shameful act? The more the border guards, the more they understand how hard it is to keep every inch of land. Every inch of land is made of the bones and blood of the generals. How could they arbitrarily yield to the enemy? It is a pity that you have met us. Yu Zhenghai's sound waves were intense. You and I fought for 3 days and 3 nights, from the Wild West Plains to Liang Province City. You seem to have a little bit of self-respect. At once, be docile and be bound. The sound waves of the Wolf King came rushing. The Lulan practitioners had now gathered a whole squad of about 2,000 practitioners. There were no mortals. There were just over 1,000 practitioners on the Nether sect side. In terms of external forces, the Rolian and Lulan people dominated. The wind was rumbling. In the air east of Liang Province City, the sound of Dharma bodies clashing suddenly appeared. All the practitioners looked excitedly. The distance was too far. They could only see the sky, which disappeared a moment later. Panhong caught his breath and said, "This is the enemy's strategy. What they mean, I don't know. Si Wuya is not stupid. It's very likely that Yang Yin is luring the enemy in. At that time, the whole world will retreat. Hordes of other race wolves, once in the city, how can they arbitrarily leave?" Panhong said. Lu Zhou looked towards Panhong. His analysis made sense. Lu Zhou held little Yuaner's hand. "Let's go. Not the most afraid, but the most afraid." The strangers launched an attack, flying towards the wall. This time Yang Yin said to retreat. Lu Zhou, little Yuaner, and Panhong left the city walls, flying low in the sky inside Liang Province City. The current situation was very chaotic. There were practitioners everywhere. "Master, if we leave the city, we have to do something," little Yuaner asked in a panic. Panhong shook his head and said there was no need to worry. When another sect succeeded, most of the people had left. It's not like old times. It doesn't take long to retreat. I don't blame you. When you and I came into the city, I didn't see anyone. Little Yuaner awakened to great enlightenment. The three people just flew, observing the situation in the city. He said most of the commoners had left, but there were still many practitioners and ordinary people on the sidelines, wanting to take the opportunity to scavenge. Panhong was also this type of person. There was no shortage of such people in any age. Look to the east. Panhong suddenly pointed. The practitioners who were hotly debated on the tops of the trees stopped looking over there now. There were 2 Dharma bodies in the distance, an 8-leaf Dharma body and a 7-leaf Dharma body flying towards them. There were 3 4-leaf Dharma bodies behind them in pursuit. They are the remaining 3 guardians of the Nether sect. There is also Si Wuya's flying chariot. The Nether sect members retreated. Then the practitioners immediately jumped down, heading east to the city. Lu Zhou followed the shadow of the 3 protectors' Dharma bodies flying south, very quickly gathering with Yang Yan. Lu Zhou softly frowned. Harshly, that was indeed the enemy's ploy. A team of 5,000 men retreated quickly, just for a moment. This was clearly a plan that had been prepared in advance. Lu Zhou turned his head to the west of the city. The Lulan and Rolyan people were slowly moving in. More than 2,000 people formed a giant front. Very slow flight speed. Of course, they had to fly slowly in case there was a trap inside the city. Practitioners of witchcraft flew in front, endlessly zooming out in circles to investigate the surrounding battles. Let's go. It had turned into a war between the hordes and the hordes. Here, Lu Zhou pointed to a building in the city. The 3 people quickly went inside. He had just entered the south of the city when the sound of a fierce fight and qi in full bloom was heard. The Nether sect is not retreating south. There was a fight there. Panhong turned his head through the small window, looking to the south of the city, then rolled his eyes. The army of Great Yin, a young woman holding a pink paper umbrella in her hand, is fighting fiercely with the Nether sect. My sister-in-law recognized her. Li Jini. Lu Zhou looked. A 7-leaf female Dharma body was fighting with people. That's why Li Jini was not defeated in Zhangzhou. What is the reason for the salary? Panhong suddenly thought of the sword. This fire is truly the essence of self-sufficiency. Siwia played them back and forth again. Li Jini alone could not be an opponent of the 4 great protectors. The divine capital must have sent an 8-leaf master. The goal is this trip, Panhong said after Yiming Tao is finished. The Rolyan and Lu Bing's forces, along with Li Jini's, enveloped the Nether sect. All of you. The flying chariot hovered in the sky. Seeing this scene, Siwia's team was also throbbing. This was almost dead. The first religion in the world must defeat in this state. He wasn't sure. Lu Zhou's head was high. If Yu Zhenghai was here, it could change the landscape. Lu Zhou's eyes were big. From Liang province, Little Yuaner and Panhong simultaneously looked towards the Nether sect's flying chariot. Whether the person sitting in it was Yu Zhenghai or not, Panhong didn't have the heart to think about these things. He just wanted to find a way out of here. The 4 most powerful forces of Liang province had all gathered. It seemed like a coincidence, but it was all fixed. Inside the city, it suddenly became quiet. The sound of Dharma bodies disappearing and qi dissipating. The vibration also disappeared. Through a small window, Lu Zhou looked up at the air. More than 1,000 practitioners of the Nether sect were surrounding and protecting a flying chariot in the middle. To the west was a war, including 2,000 Lulan and Rolyan people. The Lulan people wore vibrant clothes with feathers of all colors on their heads. The Rolyan people wore older clothes, the corners of their eyes painted red, blue, and green. When Lu Zhou saw Lu Bing's forces, the other races recovered their Dharma bodies and magic. At this point, the Rolyan had changed their ways, standing in front. To the north was the army of the 4th prince, Lu Bing, and 6 generals under him. Except for the soldiers on the ground, there were 2,000 practitioners hovering in the air. Lu Bing sat on a bright red war chariot, his cold eyes looking towards the Nether sect's flying chariot. To the east was Li Jini's army. Not far behind her was a small flying chariot with a screen. To make the 4 great protectors of the Nether sect defeated, the people sitting in the sky, of course, couldn't be false. He must have been one of the 8 great guardians in the capital. But the veil obscured his appearance. We didn't know which leader it was currently. 3 forces are surrounding the Nether sect's flying chariot. Panhong's voice was low. They can only run south. But the south is where there are the most pitfalls. You don't want to be arrested. Lu Zhou looked toward Panhong. Panhong shook his head and said he didn't want to. But according to the situation at hand, if Yu Zhenghai is not present, the Nether sect will surely be destroyed. Lu Zhou put his hands behind his back, looking. At that time, Little Yuaner, a shamelessly weak thunder, the contempt on her face. Panhong had to wipe his eyes and look. Before, he always felt that her head was very strong. Now he felt she was so cute. Lu Zhou said. Remember carefully, in cultivation, there is no fair thing. Little Yuaner gently nodded, understanding. Finally, the silence of the four forces in the sky was broken by the fourth prince, Lu Bing. He stood up, holding hands with the person sitting behind him. Li Genie, I didn't know which leader band of guards. Be in time for backup. The Prime Minister's face in the west. The great god of the capital visited his majesty. The fourth, a low bass sound that powerful, hid the feeling of an ordinary person. People said the capital was a place where tigers and dragons hid. Absolutely not wrong. There were even rumors that half of the 8-leaf experts in the cultivation world were gathered in the capital. He didn't know if this was real or fake. Gradually, everyone understood a moral. It didn't matter how tall they were. Once they got to the capital, they had to work humbly. There was a kind of conscientious urge. 7 ceremonies of closing hands. The other races looked astonished. Great Yin being stronger than the other races also had its reasons. Just talk about how Great Yin was always respectful. They were worthy of other nations learning from. Fourth Prince, long time no see. Siwia's voice came from the flying chariot, cold for an hour. It was an old rival. Of course, he knew this guy very well. I don't know what happened before. I don't measure up to you. In front of my eyes, we have to deal with the Nether sect first. Don't get lost. Put your hands on your fingers. Let's go back and forth so you can deal with the internal conflict. If you are free, turn your hand to me, Lu Bing shouted, his voice rumbling with sound waves, hitting towards the Rolyin Wolf King. The great battle of the other race practitioners emitted a resonant sound. His voice, sound waves, and 2 words canceled simultaneously. Even so, the color of the Wolf King's face still showed horror. This negative attitude affected his spirit. Fourth Prince, this is your hospitality? The Wolf King said angrily. The mood had ended before. It's still the same Wolf King. You're a good person. Behind you are the magic practitioners of Lulan. We all work for the good of others, Lu Bing said. The Wolf King lost his voice. Yu Zhenghai used to single-handedly attack Lulan, killing more than 10,000 Lulan practitioners. Strong and weak. The sheep's blood cannot be ignored. Hearing that, Lu Bing shook his head. After Yu Zhenghai left the Evil Sky Pavilion, his behavior was always controversial. If Lulan did not obey Great Yin, if he killed, no one would say anything. But Lulan had been in awe, even sending the princess to get along. Every year, they paid tribute. Yu Zhenghai's killing had made the relationship between Great Yin and Lulan completely frozen. The suspect said, however, the sect leader is a great disciple of the devil. But as far as I know, then this person is a very obvious hater of love. You can't be careless for no reason. Do not mess with the long-loved Lulan hated. Apparently, Lu Zhou paid attention to his use of words. Yu Zhenghai himself could lead the Nether sect with 100,000 members and experts like the 4 great protectors to insist on one path. If there wasn't enough personal charisma, then it would be like today, Panhong said. Leadership is an important skill. Lu Zhou had given his head in this regard. The principles of the heavenly writing are not as much as one of my disciples. In the sky, from a Nether sect's flying chariot, suddenly a contemptuous voice came out. Want to catch the Nether sect? Is it too early? Grandmaster Hua Chongyang, sitting with dragon power, stepped out, looked at the 4 sides, and finally looked at the flying chariot behind Lu Bing. The 4 great protectors also abhorred only one person. It was Siwia. Lu Bing said, Hua Chongyang, you're messing with the Great Yin landscape. It's been years. 7th brother still thinks that you want to compete in the cultivation world, to be lazy to pay attention to, but that doesn't mean you're entitled to arbitrarily obstruct the royal power. Those who have the power to rule. This is the morality from the past to the present. Injured for many years. But had he ever taken care of her? Hua Chongyang said, of course, the struggle for power must be taken out to talk. Save the bottle with a smile. Hua Chongyang, you're not even qualified to talk to the king. Get your sect leader out here. Who is the king? If you want to meet him, you can meet him. Say the comment, Kung Fu. The harmful tongue is useless. You have no choice. The 3 forces moved forward, only a few hundred yards away. The atmosphere became tense, like a drawn bow. Hua Chongyang said calmly, if you really fight, I'm not sure if you are the enemy of the divine capital. We are Siwia's men. You have the courage. Do I have a sword for my master? The person sitting in the front row behind Li Genie, his feet were furrowed, hands on handrails, tightened into a white-knuckle punch. He didn't say a word. Hua Chongyang continued. The 6 generals behind Lu Bing dared to fight a battle with me and Bai Yuqing. Hua Chongyang and Bai Yuqing were both 7-leaf experts. Among the 6 generals behind Lu Bing, there were 4 7-leaf experts and 2 6-leaf experts. In terms of power, Hua Chongyang and Bai Yuqing still dominated. Wolf King, you have pursued Yang Yan all the way to here. It's true that Yang Yan and the enemy. Why don't you fight back? Hua Chongyang said. He had to admit they knew how to deal with it. He just compared a little, and that made the Nether sect prevail. The three ways of power were good. If they really fought, the duck would die in the hands of the unknown. Don't play psychological war with me. Yu Xinghai, if you have the guts, come out and fight me. The paralyzed general patted his chariot, his body soaring into the air, hands clasped behind his back, observing the Nether sect's flying chariot. Around his body, the primal chi was constantly showing all kinds of vanity and pressure, sparkling with golden light. Panhong saw that and said in a low-pitched voice, "Great Ming mantra. The guru understands the Dharma," using the seal of RA to point up the type of press fitting. The angel has illuminated the great seal of self-indulgence, becoming a great monk in the world. The paralyzed general, class anarchist high RA, did not shout, his fierce temperament like deciduous birth to parts, seeming extremely hot-headed. He used his primal chi to create sound waves. "I don't care who's here. Can you stand it or not? I just need to feel good about myself." The soldiers on the ground were afraid and clasped their hands. Everyone's eyes were on the road, waiting for a voice to answer. They had a kind of feeling maybe Yu Xinghai was not in the flying chariot. If he was really there, he couldn't stand such humiliation. As soon as the paralyzed general was about to speak, from the flying chariot, a soft, easy-to-hear voice suddenly came, "General Duan." General Duan raised his eyebrows, looking towards the flying chariot. Everyone's eyes also dropped from General Duan to the flying chariot. Very clear, the voice of a young woman. A beautiful girl, Ai Bushi, stepped out of the flying chariot. "This is the eternal princess, Master Lu Wenjun of Great Yin." The princess appeared. Little Yuaner was secretly watching upstairs, then suddenly laughed. Hi. Princess Yongning is really. Lu Zhou slightly waved his hands up. A weak chi cylinder turned into a thin, soundproof barrier, stopping the sound from the three people. "It's easy to talk like that to the master. You should be more careful." Princess Yongning bowed to General Duan. But the ceremony did scare him. The Divine Capital's army outside his mouth shouted respectfully. But why did General Duan really want to let the princess celebrate with him? He immediately lowered his body, hands pushing out. This was a weak erection to prevent Princess Yongning's ceremony. "Princess, don't do that." The princess smiled, her soft voice like 100 flowers racing to the end. "You're not in Zhangzhou. I happened to pass by here." But this passing by word was arbitrary. Liangzhou was located north of Zizhou. It was impossible to pass through. Then it was the eternal Princess Yongning. The leader of the Rolian Wolf King performed a ritual with Princess Yongning, his right arm touching his left shoulder. The guard suddenly spoke up. "Princess Yongning, now is not the time to talk about housework." The princess said, "Do we really have to fight?" General Duan said, "Princess Yongning, if the princess wants to pray for the Nether sect, stop it. Get out if not. When fighting, there's no one to protect the princess." He looked at Princess Yongning and said, "Do you know why Father Emperor told me to bring you along?" The princess might not know, but there was no pain on her face. The atmosphere was still extremely calm. "Don't pay attention to me." This was a word to keep in mind. It was like talking to someone in the middle. "Take the princess back." Lu Bing raised his hands. Two generals immediately stepped up and took Princess Yongning back to the flying chariot. The conversation just ended. Hua Chongyang immediately struck out a preemptive blow. An 8-leaf Dharma body appeared immediately. Bai Yuqing, fight with me shoulder to shoulder. Bai Yuqing did not manifest his Dharma body. Two people attacked from the right and left, as fast as lightning. Lu Bing's war chariot flew backward. 6 generals rushed out to meet them. The two sides immediately plunged into a dramatic war, chi interfering. The soldiers below kept pulling back. The sound of Dharma bodies clashing echoed, making people's eyes chaotic. The Rolian Wolf King again manifested his Dharma body, the Wolf King. The corners of his mouth cracked into a cold smile. Looking towards the Nether sect's old flying chariot. "Your opponent is me." Yang Yin and Di Qing jumped out of the sky to the front of the Rolian. The 4 great protectors had left the flying chariot. Nether sect practitioners around the flying chariot gathered in one place, synchronously activating their primal chi, forming a defensive barrier covering up the flying chariot. Laughing, "Haha, that's God's will. The 4 men are no longer here to protect Si Wuya. Yu Xinghai, take death." General Duan said as he just launched a palm strike. A huge seal flew towards the flying chariot, crashed into the barrier, and disappeared. No more missing. General Duan raised his eyebrows, looking at the runic patterns on the flying chariot's body, and said in surprise, "The angelic formation?" At the same time, Yang Yin and Di Qing were fighting with the hordes of other races. The entire city was occupied by Dharma bodies. Practitioners in Liang Province City just had to keep their heads up to see this war. The 4 great protectors were divided into 2 teams against 2 forces. There was only Si Wuya left. How could he prevent the attack of the 8-leaf Master Duan? It was extremely quiet in the area. Si Wuya's disciples were very patient in protecting him. They were dedicated to protecting the people inside, even if they had to die. General Duan said, Si Wuya, I have despised you. You're going to hide in a turtle's shell all your life, aren't you? Si Wuya still did not make a sound. In the upstairs, Lu Zhou did not pay attention to the War of the Four Great Protectors, but put all of his attention on Si Wuya's flying chariot. Lu Zhou was thinking, was Yu Zhenghai in there or not? This one, only Yu Zhenghai could change the situation. Laughing like hell, ha ha ha. General Duan again raised his hand to the left. A palm-type attack of Dharma appeared, shining a blinding light. The noise of the wind made a creaking sound, but the runic patterns hadn't broken. Go, sect leader! 2 dragon riders, Yu Ping and another, jumped up. Hua Chongyang and Bai Yuqing were dominant. Hua Chongyang turned his head and looked towards the flying chariot. Bai Yuqing, you can go back to the hospital alone. Bai Yuqing was moved. Suddenly, he attacked General Duan's ranks. Pressure on Hua Chongyang immediately increased sharply. He took a headbutt from 6 Dharma bodies clinging to him like sticky candy. The sound of clashing sutras echoed endlessly. Under this kind of fighting, no one had time to worry about architecture. Liang Province City became a piece of debris. Bai Yuqing, attacked by General Duan, only laughed coldly. The 7-leaf is still there. That's right, General Duan. 2 of his hands folded to form a defense. 10 great seals shot towards Bai Yuqing. Bai Yuqing manifested his immovable diamond Dharma body. With a large difference in cultivation, Bai Yuqing's Dharma body flew backward, his mouth spraying a sip of fresh blood. Destroy the 4 great protectors of the Nether sect. Yu Zhenghai was not present on the flying chariot. General Duan was now certain. He understood Yu Zhenghai very well. If Yu Zhenghai was really in the flying chariot, he would have Lao Ra in control soon. There was no need to be so timid. The sound echoed through the entire school. Lu Zhou smiled coldly. The Wolf King was suddenly flamboyant. Yang Yan, Di King, you really think that a 6-leaf can lead this team of 5? Why you? The Wolf King's Dharma body manifested. A golden lotus below also grew. On a golden lotus Dharma body, another leaf suddenly opened. 7 leaves swirled around, radiating from the golden lotus. The Wolf King's power in the battle became extremely powerful. Wang! Wang! Yang Yin and Di Qing were beaten by the Wolf King, their Dharma bodies disappearing, and the 2 spat out a sip of fresh blood. Obviously, Yu Zhenghai couldn't resist for much longer. General Duan nodded with satisfaction. Go down and hit a boss. The story cracked out again. Teeth cracked like broken crystal, and then it crumbled into little pieces. More than 1,000 practitioners of the Nether sect were continuously attacked twice. The entire horizontal, sweeping chi platform fell to the ground. Landing of the class, Gui Lin, vibrating principal moves throughout the high gas plantation. Move out the whole range. Finally, he also controls the power of the Holy Spirit. The inside is empty. As soon as the paralytic tries to turn around with the ocean flower, in the distance lean, a body as fast as a flashlight hit the paralyzed back. The pain is immediately felt behind the back. In danger. Hurry to open the body gas. It's late. He was thrown out of the sky by a force. The demonic monster broke his visceral erection. Phantom paralysis, fresh blood spray. In class. Control of the war hovering in the sky. I saw this on his face. Out of the horror, he looked at the man who had just appeared. It is not the sea. It's the 7 devilish disciples. Keep your hands closed. The seals in the palms of his hands radiating sparks of fire and disappear in the sky. Yu Ping tried to suppress the pain of jumping up to Phi Lin to regain control of the land. Mr. 7th, you have succeeded. Si Wuya stepped to the edge of the former flying chariot and looked down, his voice high-pitched. General Duan, you are very unfortunate. I studied the angelic mantra. I can't believe I will use it to fight you. All things in the world are interdependent. Even if it is 8-leaf, there will be disadvantages. To break the blessing body of the master's spell, last time I was very austere studying the angelic mantra. Brother, because you want to? It's even more regrettable to help him unravel the spell. At any cost, find a bunch of magic spells for him. These talismans accumulate. It can only be used once. But once is enough. General Duan fell to the ground. He knew he was not dead, just seriously injured. Di Qing and Bai Yuqing brought back their wounds to the flying chariot. Currently, only Yu Zhenghai was suffering. Si Wuya kept climbing. He knew that he was not dead, just injured. He looked at Lu Bing. Ever since you stepped on the wall, you have lost. It's seen as a small, unintended incident. But did you notice the Battle of Liang Province City is still perfect? No harm. Is there any left? Si Wuya's words made Lu Bing's soldiers look at each other. Lu Bing deliberately frowned. Let's see. And these other races, from beginning to end, we just watch them. It's like a bunch of uncivilized animals. Every word of Si Wuya crashed into the hearts of others, making them immediately angry. The Wolf King's Dharma body manifested again. Si Wuya angrily said, 2,000 practitioners in the battle, face up to the sky at the same time, body emitting a strong purple atmosphere. The Wolf King's Dharma body is constantly absorbing the purple gas. The body is getting bigger. The Wolf King's voice was high. Si Wuya, you think you figured it all out? Bai Yuqing immediately came to Si Wuya's side. Mr. Seventh asked to withdraw. The plan has been, after we retreat, the Wolf King will be executed with Liu Bing. Yang Yin and Di Qing also stooped. Si Wuya might not know, but the Wolf King still retained a little trick. Over the years, just him and Yu Zhenghai knew about these idiots. Retreat. As originally planned, Princess Yongning was suspended in the sky. Liu Bing had no choice. Suddenly, Liu Bing swung his knife. Si Wuya, there you go. If you want to be a good fisherman, there is no door. I miss you forever. The 3 French protectors are stooping again. Mr. Seventh, please follow the plan. Si Wuya looked at Princess Yongning hanging in the air. Her face was calm without any panic. Even on her face, she carried a warm smile when looking at Si Wuya standing on the flying chariot. The corners of her lips curled into a satisfied smile. Her right hand was always raised. A sword appeared in her hand. Just keep going with your plan. Princess Yongning held the sword in her hand and suddenly stabbed it into her chest. When people get into a situation where they don't know what they want, they easily fall into misery. Watch until you know what you really want to do, then every initial choice becomes funny. But there was no other choice. In Si Wuya's eyes, the sword flashed. The optical light carried refractive light, binding his eyes. It was as if something had touched his heart. Each of his legs was light. His whole body soared like a rocket, flying towards Princess Yongning. That's all you 7 ghosts have. The Rolyan Wolf King was taking advantage of the great war of magic to coerce his body. The Lord of the Rings increased to 8-leaf. The Wolf King's 8-leaf Dharma body flew towards Si Wuya. Mr. Seventh, even if Si Wuya wanted to keep himself awake, when he saw his own thoughts flying towards him, protests on his face. He couldn't control it anymore. What? Princess Yongning had no mercy on herself. The sword was still determined to stab into her chest. Si Wuya thought he was a cold-blooded animal. From the past to the present, nothing could touch his heart. But when the sword pierced her chest, he thought the sword was drilling straight into his heart. Fresh blood flowed, drenching her skirt. Si Wuya, from the endless chewing, frenziedly beat out countless palm strikes, hitting Liu Bing's flying chariot. He reached out to Princess Yongning. Pity nail. The Wolf King's heavenly armies struck him in the back. The clothes on his back crumbled, but he still hugged Princess Yongning tightly. His whole body, like a kite breaking its rope, fell down onto the pile of architecture broken underneath. The Rolyan Wolf King laughed extremely funnily. Ha ha ha. Look, I'm the one who won now. He threw his hands on the deconstruction front. Practitioners of witchcraft couldn't force themselves to keep the 8-leaf form for too long. The rest of the war was just a little cleaning up. Good was done. The practitioners of the magic trick rushed towards the disciples of the Nether sect. Under the ground, Yu Zhenghai couldn't stop it. Fought by 6 generals. It was all over. In a piece of rubble, Princess Yongning was free. In a moment of no words, in front of him was unsightly. Si Wuya tried to hold her with one hand, but after a while, he couldn't help it. Blood rolled in his body. Pouring out a sip of fresh blood, he couldn't help but let her go. 2 hands on the ground. Si Wuya saw that Yongning was about to fall to the ground. She tried to sit up and support him. He kept his head up to see the war. Blame not. Every plan has failed 7 times just because he wants it. More than 1,000 followers of the Nether sect, just in that moment, had been scattered by the hordes of other races around. Princess Yongning opened her eyes. Her right hand was covered in blood, trembling up and clenching Si Wuya's arm. She asked weakly why. Shaking his head, his face bloodless, Si Wuya didn't know or want to answer. He only knew now that his heart was broken. It was like a rock in his chest. The Nether sect's flying chariot in the sky was broken. Si Wuya, you want to hide? I can't hide anymore. He shook his head reluctantly and said there was no such thing. How to hide? In the blink of an eye, he felt so ashamed of everyone, including the 4 great protectors, his brothers in the Nether sect. Even Princess Yongning vowed to die for herself. Si Wuya assumed that he could control the world, but right now he was completely helpless. Princess Yongning's blood was soaked in his hands. He had no way to focus, to think about how to deal with it. He was not only upset, he was angry, but he had to stay awake. He couldn't just blink and see everyone die. Toss, toss. An old figure suddenly appeared next to Si Wuya. Si Wuya slowly raised his head. His whole body trembled, eyes filled with unbelievable looks. The old man had a calm face, one hand stroking his beard, one hand clasped behind his back. Next to him, there was also a middle-aged man and a young girl. It seemed very urgent. The whole world seemed to be quiet. After an unknown amount of time, Si Wuya's lips trembled as he uttered, "Master." Lu Zhou shook his head and sighed bitterly. "My disciple." Si Wuya's mouth stuttered. Unable to speak, his vocal cords choked. When Panhong saw Si Wuya, he was in a hurry. No matter what, this guy was also one of the most legendary characters of the Evil Sky Pavilion. To be able to greet people at such a close distance was a nice and stimulating thing. But what did Master mean? Panhong was naive. He looked at the old man next to him. In the sky, the four great protectors were violently clashing with the enemy. Seals were flying through the sky. Lu Zhou looked at Si Wuya. "I can honestly say this is your choice." Si Wuya pushed Princess Yongning towards Little Yuaner, then slowly called out, "Master." Little Yuaner supported Princess Yongning, carefully moving her to the side. Si Wuya's body was now exposed. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and then bowed deeply to Lu Zhou. Disciple asks Master to relieve the seed for the disciples. Panhong, oh my god. He staggered back, his legs trembling endlessly, eyes glaring. He stepped back and carefully watched the old man again. There was that kind of spirit. The man who was the most admired man in the world, far off the horizon, but close in front of him. This was the patriarch of the Evil Sky Pavilion, the head of the blacklist. He was the master of the 9 great disciples of the Evil Sky Pavilion. Panhong fell to the ground. He didn't want to turn his head or look at him. "What are you doing?" "No, nothing." Panhong wanted to cry. Now he remembered when he was in the regional office. The young girl told him to kneel down and worship her master. It turned out people didn't really lie. Lu Zhou didn't pay attention to Panhong's feelings. Even if Panhong had realized Lu Zhou's identity from the beginning, the results would be no different. What did this have to do with Lu Zhou? Lu Zhou's face was still calm. "It doesn't seem to create the situation that we have today. Isn't it because you sowed the wind and reaped the storm? Based on what should I send you back to support you?" The wind was rumbling. The Nether sect's flying chariot. The Wolf King was constantly attacking. It finally broke, falling down and smashing the architecture under the city. The Wolf King returned to his 7-leaf form. After the 4 great protectors were injured, they kept coming back. The Nether sect appeared surrounded. Lu Bing did not move. His 6 generals were not suspended, not continuing the attack. Lu Bing himself had changed. At any time, one must guard against enemies, even if the enemy was a stranger. But the Wolf King could easily give up the opportunity 1,000 years ago. What were the 7 gods doing there? One day, the 4 great protectors of the Nether sect had not been destroyed. That day, Lu Bing would be uneasy. His eyebrows were frowning. Looking at the pleasant appearance of the Wolf King, Lu Bing could guess that after the Wolf King was finished, of course, they would turn their head and bite back. But Lu Bing couldn't just stand by. Order a 4-man sweep. "Li Genie, you are a servant of the false prophet." The general was beaten up. "What are you standing there for? Go and stop them." In the sky, Li Genie, holding her paper umbrella, stood dumbfounded. From a beginning to the end, she didn't act. She was always hiding where no one noticed. But she was still seen by the 4 princes. 3 Dharma bodies flew towards Si Wuya. At the same time, Lu Bing pressed down from above. Si Wuya hurried up and stood, his hands full of primal chi. Lu Bing was shocked. Architectural works on 4 sides collapsed. At this moment, the sun was shining on Si Wuya. Lu Zhou, Little Yuaner, and Panhong, all of them, turned their heads to look at these people. The same goes for Lu Bing. Li Genie was also bewildered, as were the 4 great protectors. The old man looks familiar. The Rolian Wolf King, along with General Duan, who had just stood up from the ruins, also turned to look. It was the AI that monitored apnea. The heart throbbed as if it had just been memorized. Why'd he show up here? The dead were always hidden in the city, never meeting the celestial body. Now, just looking at him, the old man in front of Si Wuya, the one who could bring Si Wuya to his knees, was finally. Princess Yongning calmly looked at the scene in front of her. She seemed to have expected this soon, no matter who went in and killed. The Wolf King, leading the Lulan and Rolian people, was like a pack of wild wolves galloping towards Si Wuya's side. Lu Zhou looked at the people around him. With this situation, if he wanted to clean up the mess, it was also not possible. Si Wuya kowtowed again and again. As long as Master is willing to help, Disciple vows to return to the Evil Sky Pavilion and accept punishment. Si Wuya's forehead, moist, hit the ground hard. Lu Zhou stroked his beard. "I just hope you don't let your 7th junior brother down." He raised his hand. The peacock plume appeared, radiating a pale brilliance. It flew towards Si Wuya. Si Wuya was overjoyed. He tapped his toes, his body soaring into the air. "What is he holding in his hand?" the Rolian Wolf King said, bewildered, only to see Si Wuya hurl the peacock plume into the air. The peacock plume spun rapidly, emitting a resonating sound. Then, one split into 2, 2 into 4. Around the peacock plume, primal chi surrounded it, shining with golden light. Two pieces of the peacock plume flew to land on Si Wuya's back, turning into a pair of wings. Lu Zhou said quietly, "Peacock plume, sky severing. Not good, back off." The Wolf King urgently ordered. They had sensed the energy around them, in the blink of an eye, being absorbed by the peacock plume, turning into a pair of giant wings. This was the characteristic of the peacock plume. As beautiful as a phoenix, it was so glorious. But at the moment, if you were fascinated by this beauty, it would cost you your life for nothing. Si Wuya flew forward, no protest on his face. The giant wings of the ocean rose. Every time the wings flapped once, the chi turned into sparks, not fluttering. Break! Break! The Rolian and Lulan people suffered from Si Wuya's sudden attack, making them jump. When they wanted to run away, it was no longer in time. The lightning filled the sky like a storm, shooting through the chests of the other races. Each one of them fell to the ground. Kill the target. Gain 10 merit points. Kill the target. Gain 10 merit points. Hearing the system announcement, Lu Zhou was not surprised. A little less, but still less. The Lulan people were practitioners of magic with very poor defensive ability to be shot by an erection full of people like hedgehogs. The seventh disciple's peacock plume, sky severing. It's been a long time since I've seen it. Bai Yuqing wiped the blood from the corner of his lips, excited. Last time Mr. Seventh used this trick was the battle in Pingda Mountain. Then the 7 disciples and the sect leader joined forces, laying the foundation for the Nether sect. I can't believe I can see it again after so many years. The remaining 3 protectors looked excitedly at the horizon, where Si Wuya, with giant wings radiating light, brought tears to their eyes. Si Wuya, without a little love, shot at the hordes of other races and Lu Bing's forces. Retreat quickly! Lu Bing ordered him no more. There was no more time to explain to his subordinates down at the school. Even Lu Bing's 6 generals were also horrified by this one, constantly retreating. Lu Bing couldn't believe his eyes were looking at this. Anger and hatred were completely out of control. His eyes were red as blood. This time you have to die. The Rolian Wolf King raised its face to the sky and screamed. Its Wolf King Dharma body, pedaling on 7 golden lotuses, fell down from the sky like ice, zooming towards Si Wuya. Si Wuya flew backward, 2 wings open and thumping. Break! Break! Diamond primal chi, dense as stars, flew out, shooting towards the Wolf King's Dharma body. The Wolf King's Dharma body, like a shadow of electricity, reached 6 leaf. After, it was only 6. The Wolf King flew in the middle of his Dharma body and unifier. The Wolf King's Dharma body appeared now, the glistening golden patterns looking like meridians, preventing the entire primal chi attack. Lu Bing's 6 generals flew to his side. A general said, "Your Majesty, this is a great opportunity for us to take down the Nether sect and the other races." Lu Bing slapped him. The general was confused and didn't understand why. Lu Bing took a sip of saliva and whispered, "A chance? Hide away. Why hide when we are still healing?" The generals were all looking dumbfounded. That's right. Why do they have to run away? The current situation, it was clear they could make mermaids. Right now, the Wolf King's Dharma body rushed towards Si Wuya. Si Wuya once again frowned. The 2 wings closed and quickly retreated. Mr. Seventh, Hua Chongyang, Bai Yuqing, Yang Yin, and Di Qing shouted out loud. On the ruins that were flattened, a blue arrow, as big and long as a giant, came from far away. It flew without breaking, excessively reprieved. It obviously caught everyone's eye. From the distance, it flew across the street, shot straight into the middle of the Wolf King's Dharma body's forehead. Not exactly a glass, moist water. The Wolf King's Dharma body broke into small pieces. In the middle of the Dharma body, the Wolf King staggered forward, one hand holding his chest, 2 eyes looking forward. In the back of the room was an old man. The old man floated in the low sky, one hand stroking his beard, one hand recovering a bow. Bow and arrow. The bow transformed back into a sword and into his sleeve, disappearing without a trace. It was a scary day from this old man. When the Wolf King saw the old man, fresh blood flowed at the same time from the corners of his mouth and the corners of his eyes, his nose and ears. But the old man's disciple, I can let you be humiliated. It was him. He didn't look wrong. It was about feeling breathe. His breathing was becoming more and more difficult. It was like something was choking in his throat. He could only keep swallowing. What about the prince? What about the prince? If he had lightning speed, he would not hesitate to choose to leave. But after seeing one of them, the thought of running away was completely gone. How could he run? Clear blue sky, cool wind, warm and pleasant. The Wolf King, one hand covering his chest, couldn't take it anymore, his body falling straight to the ground. Kill the target. Gained 1,500 merit points. Lu Zhou was like walking on the ground, step by step among the people. This one moment, he was the current champion of the world. Panhong, the blacklist #1, knelt on the ground, his face full of excitement, looking at the old man in the air, looking at the idol in his heart. What was first place? What was prince? It was all just background. Hua Chongyang, Bai Yuqing, Yang Yin, and Di Qing rejoiced as if catching gold, still agitated. It was more exciting than meeting the sect leader. The four people at the same time, bent over in procession. Greetings, old senior. Li Genie recovered her paper umbrella, hugged it to her chest, hunched over, and said, Greetings, elder. The two dragon riders, Yu Ping and the other, raised their heads to the sky. Beyond shame, there was only shame. There were all kinds of emotions inside him right now. Just like Panhong, the remaining number of Nether sect disciples was about 7,800. Everyone shouted loudly, Greetings, old senior. These two words meant a lot to them. After all, this old man was the master of their sect leader. In front of the old man, the disciples of the Nether sect could all be seen as traitors. Siwuya spread his wings, looking at the Wolf King's body on the ground. He was dead, couldn't be more dead. In his heart, he couldn't help but be amazed. Master, who ever held such profound cultivation? So Lu Zhou looked around on four sides. His eyes finally stopped on the Rolyan and Lulan people. The hordes were trembling. He simply said, kill. Siwuya said, yes. This time, who dared to stop him? There was Lu Zhou in the back. Who dared to prevent Siwuya from chewing? The Rolyan and Lulan people, hundreds of them wanted to stay, not running away. But even their leader, the Seven-Leaf Wolf King, was shot dead by an arrow. If they had the courage to dig. Under Lu Zhou's cover, Siwuya blatantly plunged into the confusion. Open peace, giant wings, flickering light, through the bodies and chests of the Rolyan people like a ravishing prophet. Even the Rolyan people, who had strong defenses, were all smashed by the peacock plume. When they saw this scene, the disciples were extremely angry. Before that, they were always pressed down by the Rolyan and Lulan people. This moment, all the anger and sorrow were unleashed. Practitioners of witchcraft, how could they escape Siwuya's wings? They were all being killed. Fewer and fewer other races. No one had the strength to resist. Even if there were six-leaf experts, it was impossible to fight. Siwuya, in a state of energy outburst, Dharma body opened, six-leaf golden lotus with swept wings. Both sides of the city were destroyed. Break! Lu Zhou glanced at the system notification, then closed the interface. Killing a person only got 10 points. But the number of other race groups was so large that it was considered a swordsmanship. Lu Zhou slowly turned his head to look at Lu Bing. You're in league with the other races. Are you not afraid of the emperor punishing you? About this, Lu Bing wanted to cry. Now 4 of his 6 generals were standing in front. Facing Lu Zhou, they said, Senior, let us plead guilty to you on His Highness's behalf. For people at the same time, took a few steps respectfully. Lu Zhou looked at the 4 generals pleading guilty. This old man has been at the border for many years. Even if there is no merit, there is suffering, the general on the left said. Your Majesty does the work. This is also due to unwillingness. The people of the world. Does anyone think Your Majesty is a good person? Your Highness, the Phoenix. A lot of work is done for any reason. For people were constantly moving towards Lu Zhou. What do you want to do, General? Lu Bing asked. The general on the left didn't look back, his voice low. Your Majesty, please forgive me for not being able to resign. For people with Lu Zhou, right in the moment of human storage, all of a sudden 4 of them hit at the same time. Destiny in the man's body. The 4 Dharma bodies converged in the same place. The same energy forming a resonant sound. Extremely tied. Master, the old man, the people shouted. The Dharma body was only glistening. Now the same message formed the golden light as the entity. All 4 Dharma bodies were in the same place. In the moment of 1,000 pounds hanging by a hair, Lu Zhou's chest flashed. Impeccable card. Immune to damage. A glistening golden body Buddha appeared immediately, covering Lu Zhou. Wang! 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 For hours of continuous clashes, the 4 great Dharma bodies crashed into the Buddha's golden body and then crumbled. For generals flew backward, spitting out fresh blood. Lu Bing saw this scene and immediately shouted, You're crazy! What are you doing? The other 2 generals stopped him from coming. Slowly, they are your people. Your Majesty, please be less angry. This sentence finally knocked Lu Bing awake. They were his people. His Highness. His Grace was left with only 2 people by his side. The others had all been killed on the distant frontier. The guys in front of him, it was just the wrong hand of a wise father. It was the highest. But what scared him even more was that 4 Dharma bodies at the same time, at such a close distance, still couldn't do anything. Lu Zhou was too strong. These 4 people could be considered to have risked their lives. Whether it was by Yuqing or Hua, Chongyang, Yang Yin, and Di Qing together, it was not sure if they could create such an attack force. That was amazing. It couldn't be deciphered either. At least, that Tenjong Tall Buddha's golden body was so damn hard. Then that was it. 10 seconds went by so fast. Lu Zhou frowned. There was anger on his face. To tell the truth now, he didn't know what to do to kill these people, unless he used a peak form card. But that was too wasteful. But using a life-saving card was too costly. Let's see Weah solve it. He didn't get merit points. It was hard to play. People around knew that at this moment, the world's first great devil was not thinking about how to defend, but about how to get merit points. But no loss. While Lu Zhou was still thinking, in the ruins below, a shadow suddenly appeared. He raised his face to the sky and looked up at Lu Zhou. 2 strong pedal feet made the 100 meters of the earth vibrate. His whole body shot up like a firecracker. 2 hands knitted straight forward, index finger left hand and index finger right hand constricted out. Around the 2 fingers, there was a self-referential chain consisting of 4 words. Great Ming Mantra, non-stop spinning. It meant throwing away all thoughts and fully responding. The 2 eyes of General Duan appeared, the corners of his lips no longer bloody. Lu Zhou looked down at him. He raised his hand and struck a palm. At his feet, the Great Ming Mantra's blue light shone, the maximum pressure lowered. At the same time, the 4 great protectors, the air around their blooming hands radiating light, 5 fingers down. There was no ability to just wait. 2 index fingers were crushed by that great seal, no different from tofu. The palm seal, the Great Ming Mantra, crashed to the ground. It was a big hole with 5 fingers. The whole crowd was speechless. It was not easy for Weah after all. The other races just didn't turn around. He saw his master's 2 consecutive moves, a Buddha's golden body, a Great Ming Mantra palm strike. He remembered the moment he got the intelligence. His brothers used to speak in Holy Land. The south appeared, a Tinjong tall golden body Buddha. He didn't have much faith at the time. To cultivate the Buddha's golden body to Tinjong could only be high. Now, seeing it with his own eyes, he knew it was all true. Weah was not suspended. He looked at Lu Zhou with a very complicated expression. He didn't know if his choice was right or wrong. But coming to this country, he could only keep moving forward, even if he had to step on the tracks. Panhong sat on the ground. Lu Zhou did not blink. He couldn't help but clap his hands. The lonely applause echoed suddenly. It seemed awkward, but it woke everyone up. The disciples took a deep breath. Li Jini retreated to the back. There was no way for everyone to calm down. As they looked towards the 5-finger wormhole, he was a prophet of old, famous in the cultivation world, inherited spells and incantations, the best of the angels. That this Great Ming Mantra was his killer move, making a reputation for him. Just afraid to die. He couldn't believe he lost again. It was the killer move he was most proud of, completely crushed. There was only a 5-finger hole on the ground. General Duan was no longer visible. There was no air of life. Lu Zhou heard the sound of the system bulletin. 1,500 merit points bonus. He shook his head. He slowly turned his body and looked indifferently at the 4 generals who had just attacked him. The 4 bloody generals, in their eyes, were awe and vibration. After being beaten up by the Buddha's golden body, they were all slightly injured. Lu Zhou re-inventoried the extraordinary force that remained in him. Each of them used a part. 1/3 of the power associated with the bow to kill a 7-leaf expert. A great trick, the Great Ming Mantra, used 1/3 of the power of the universe. Attack at close range. It was much more powerful than an arrow. Sorry, superhuman forces were useful, but too few. He was able to deal with the 4 generals in front of him. It was not possible to use the piano if it was out of the way, he could only use a 1-click card. Life was a waste of merit. Lu Zhou just looked at the 4 generals with a cold expression. They dare not move. Lu Bing was crazy. It's all crazy. Ha 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 ha. He laughed, but tears streamed down his face.